How you guys doing? It's my show. You kind of already know the drill, and you kind of already know how I feel about NASCAR and the sanctioning body, and I don't want to get into that anymore. Everybody already kind of knows the way I feel about it, and I kind of got both feet out the door right now, and it's not because of Priest leaving. It's because of a lot of other things, and it's because what NASCAR did of choosing when to run each rule or when to follow each rule that they have. Like, come on, man. If that's a local track and they're giving favoritism or they're doing certain things, you know what we don't do? We don't keep going. You don't keep racing at tracks or with promoters or race control who favors different things or favors a certain type of racing. Like, I don't need NASCAR for my racing. I can go watch World of Outlaws through different services. I can watch local racing across the country. Like, I don't need NASCAR. I'm here for you guys. I've got a ton of support, a lot of tips this year. People supporting me on Patreon, which you can still do. It's still there if you want to support the channel. Send some money through PayPal or Patreon. But I'm certainly not going to spend as much time making the lineups. I'll still do the content, but I'm not putting as much time in DraftKings as I was. Like, I'll much rather spend time, looking up stuff for NBA, MLB, Counter-Strike, NFL when it comes back. Like, I would much rather play video games than fucking watch a NASCAR race to begin with, much less building lineups. But we're gonna get into Darlington. We're gonna do another cool thing that I think you guys will enjoy. But this is Darlington. I'm not going to talk about it, everybody. Like, you guys just want the picks anyway. That's usually all it comes down to. So, gun to my head, hog rankings, Kurt Cobain, gun to my head. If I had to rank the fast cars, it's going to be Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, due to the fact that I think Elliott comes in with lower ownership. Yes, Hamlin has higher upside. I still have him ranked third. I still like Hamlin. But due to the, types of lineups that you can make with Chase Elliott, I like him a bit more than Hamlin. Truex would round that out. If I remove Hamlin and base it on like the type of upside that everybody has, it would probably be Larson, Hamlin, Keselowski, Truex, then Chase. But that's just how it is. We're not going to waste our time talking about guys in the back. Let's just go and start from the bottom going up. Priest at $5,900, the cheapest I want to go if I'm building lineups. Which, man, I also, like, I looked at the terms of use for DraftKings, and then I look at other people's videos. Like, they'll have Fantasy Cruncher in the background. They'll build lineups on screen. What's going on there? We'll get into that more. Ryan Priest, $5,900. Yeah, I was gonna say, like there's a chance I don't play NASCAR DFS, but I still make content for it. And if that's the case, can I just not give out lineups, but do more of what I'm going to do later in this video here? We'll get into that as well. Priest, $5,900 yet again. He's about the only guy I want to go through. Anybody in the 5K range other than that or under him is just, I don't want to waste time building lineups with that. I don't think it's very likely to be optimal. I would just go with Priest. Stenhouse at $7,600. I like them both. Look, this team has made a lot of improvements over this year. I know it's Darlington, and I know it's a more difficult race, but I think Priest, seeing how well he's been improving this year, I would not be shocked if he ran 19th. I wouldn't be shocked if he ran 24th. I project him right now on a Thursday morning for 19th. I have Stenhouse for 17th. Due to that, I'd just much rather go to Priest, who's a lot cheaper with similar upside to his teammate in Stenhouse, but obviously he's riskier. If you don't like that, you can bump him down to a 22nd, bump him down to a 24th place finish. But it's the fact that he's $5,900. He's the cheapest you absolutely want to go, and I don't see him ruining your line unless he wrecks. Eric Almirola, don't see much here. The whole Stewart-Haas situation, the whole Stewart-Haas cars, I'm not... They should be doing better at tracks that are good or easy to drive. Obviously, this is a difficult racetrack, and that's just how it is. If you look back at last year's race and how Eric Almirola did, I think that's more of just kind of the playoffs. Yet again, people try not to get in the way of the playoff contenders now when ran the actual, season before the playoffs. Guys are racing a lot harder, and I don't see Eric Almirola getting through the field as easily as he did last year. Looking at his last three races, obviously Kansas 29th, 15th or 20th at Atlanta, 38th at Las Vegas, 30th at Homestead. I mean, he's been all over the place. And if you look at how they closed the year off last year, 13th at Kansas, 23rd at Fort Worth. I imagine they're going to get back to that. Are they here now? I don't see that consistently. Yes, he's getting his way into the top 10 more often now, or top 15, or top 20 rather. But I don't see him. I can't imagine him finishing any better than like 14th here. And for $88,000, I just not too interested in that. Eric Jones at 8,200. I mentioned on the Dirty Air Pod, at least I think I did, that this is a difficult track, obviously, and this is a track that I want to use track history at. I want to use tracks that are similar to this. So if it's like for Xfinity or Truck Series, and there's somebody who's new who hasn't been at this track, have they raced at Winchester? Have they raced at other tracks similar to Darlington? Eric Jones has always had talent at Winchester. This is by far his best track. I'm going to pump the brakes a little. I have him projected for an 18th place finish. Now, this is his best track. This is, seeing how this car is ran at tracks where they should have been more competitive, at tracks where, he shouldn't be fighting, 22nd, 24th, 25th if he's that good. This is his track. Like, there is no excuses. If he has the talent, he's going to wheel that thing up and do a 13th place finish, 14th place finish. I don't see it. I think a lot of people are going to look at his history and be happy to pay the 8,200, where I would much rather go lower to Stenhouse or much lower to somebody like Bubba Wallace, who I would argue has very similar upside to Eric Jones. And just because of that, I don't see Eric Jones doing much. Anthony Alfredo at $5,400. Not going to do much this week. Last week, they ran pretty good. That was awesome to see that his team was staying out. His team was pulling strategy, and he was running anywhere from 20th to 25th the entire race. Obviously, he'd be back in like 30th or 29th during pit stops, not necessarily the last one, but throughout the race and everything. And that's good to see. We need to just see that continuing for Alfredo to be once again considered like he was in the start of the year. However, this is a very difficult track, and I would be hesitant to play Anthony Alfredo starting here. Like, this is the place where I see him finish in 26 and not getting that much upside. So I'd much rather go to Preece. Wallace, Custer, and Briscoe are kind of all in the same area for me. I got Custer right now projected for 20th place finish, Briscoe for 23rd, Bubba for 17th, which he should be running better than 17th. He has better equipment than that, but it's still Bubba Wallace at $7,000. He's the play here that I would imagine. It's going to be between Wallace and Newman, I would think, in terms of making lineups or in terms of which one performs the best in this range. I would give the edge right now to Wallace just because I think they have better equipment, but I imagine all these guys to struggle here. Custer and Briscoe, I don't think they're going to do well not having practice, even having laps here in different series, and Custer racing here last year. Newman, hardest guy to pass at a one-lane racetrack. Good chance he's going to get moved into the wall at some point. That's risky as heck, so I'd much rather just stick with Wallace and hopefully he does something. Bowman and Chastain both love these guys. Bowman, I see him finishing 6th, 5th, somewhere around there. Chastain, I'm very happy to pay $6,300 for a car that I've seen a lot of improvement in for this team. They're not racing as bad as they were. We're expecting these guys to still run better, but with what Ross is doing in that car, with the little talent that he has, is quite eye-opening. I'm quite happy with it. His last two finishes that I really want to look at, Kansas last week, 14th, Atlanta, 14th there again. Like, he's a top 15 car now. Even at Las Vegas, 23rd, that's when they were still getting the swing of things. He finished 17th at Homestead, which is a pretty high-wear racetrack. If you want to look at Homestead and Darlington to be very similar, running right against the wall. Pretty much a one-groove racetrack. I know Homestead you can move around, but it's pretty much a one-groove racetrack. I like Chastain, and it seems like I've been that way the last couple weeks. I don't mind him. I think he's still too cheap at $6,300. I got him projected right now to finish 15th. I think he could get a bit more if things can go his way. Now he can get in the wall. He can wreck. It's always Chastain, but projection-wise, 15th. Same thing with Kurt Busch, 8,400. I have him projected for 15th as well. We've seen him run well at this track. He has great track history. It's just Kurt Busch, $8,400 compared to his teammate, which I think has very similar capabilities for a lot cheaper than him. Let's see. Blaney, don't see much happening there for $9,000. Suarez, the whole Suarez, McDowell, and Busher thing, like, these guys really have to hold on to their positions. Like if you thought Alfredo holding on to 22nd last week or whatever was going to be tough, I mean, Busher has to pretty much hold on to 10th or 11th or 12th to argue being optimal. If he falls 13th to 15th, he's not going to kill your lineup, but I don't see it being optimal. Anything other than that, then it kind of really starts to hurt the lineup. Same thing with McDowell, although he is $400 cheaper. It's really how much risk do you have between McDowell and Busher. I imagine people are going to go to Busher just because they trust that car more. Maybe McDowell's the place to go if you want a slight pivot there. Austin Dillon, good track history. I liked how he's ran here in the past. But yet again, same thing with Dillon, same thing with Busher, same thing with McDowell, same thing with Suarez. These guys have to pretty much hold on to these positions the entire race, which can be done. But you're getting more and more risky for these guys. If I had to play anybody here that I have confidence in holding on their position, De Benedetto, Dillon, Reddick, Busher, McDowell, Suarez, it'd probably be Austin Dillon. I think Dillon, and then probably Reddick. I think the two RCR cars have the best chance of holding on their position, and probably Busher after that. But man, that's keeping a lot of good guys in the back out of the top 10 or out of the top 15. Hamlin, Elliott, I've already kind of told you I like these guys. Byron. And it's the same thing here. Like everybody could lead, everybody could bust. Same thing. So if you're playing Larson, which I would play Larson, I would play a lot of Larson, and then just bump him in and out with people like Larson and Hamlin, Larson and Elliott, Larson and Truex. Like that's just how I would cover it. Probably Larson and Keselowski is going to be popular because it's the pole sitter. Keselowski's projected to do well. The only downside to him would be how good is he on the restarts, and if the inside lane can get by him, because he should lead the first part either at the competition caution, or if a caution comes out, the leader should choose the outside lane. The only way the inside lane is going to pass the leader there is if they get a really good restart, if they beat the leader, or if they really cut turn one and enter extremely low, slide up in front of the car on the outside and do that, or even if they're like side by side out of turn two. That's not exactly what you want to see for your leader. That's the only downside to Keselowski. But yeah, I don't mind any of these guys really. It just depends on how many laps you're making and if you get to them or not. Let's talk about let's have some fun here. So, as I mentioned earlier, like I see this as the exact same as, you know, having like Fantasy Cruncher in the background, or coming out and being like, oh, this is the projected lineup right now, or somebody building lineups on the site and put it on YouTube. Like everybody does it. And I'm not saying play any of these lineups. This is the first run. I want to do this live. If you're familiar with, you know, Pierce's stuff, he had 2 sheets, a light sheet, a heavy sheet that had more stuff. I have a third one. I edited his heavy one a little bit so it does even more calculations, but it takes forever to do. This is more, the light is perfect for like a video like this if I need things to happen on the video while I'm just talking. And you know, so I'm already going to start cutting guys out so we can really start seeing kind of how lineups are going to break through or break out. And yet again, I mean, all these projections are early projections. So are these even lineups that are going to run if I play, you know, if I play like 2 or 3 lines, do I play any of these? I don't know. These projections aren't official yet. They're not my official Patreon projections. They're just stuff I kind of put together. But let's go ahead and look through. And I did get fast laps and laps led and stuff. So we're going to cut these guys out. We'll leave Priest there. Priest is already gonna want to put him into a lot of lineups. I'll keep them there. Keep Alfredo out. I don't want him. Bubba maybe. We'll keep these guys in. We'll see what the optimizer does here in terms of how much they want to put him in. We'll bump him up, lower him. Keep Alfredo where he is. Let's see here. Don't think Suarez works. Don't think Blaney really works. We'll keep McDowell in there for very low. We'll keep him low. We'll bump Larson up because we already know we want a ton of Larson. Probably no Logano. Just remove him. See what type of lineups it gives us here. See what the computer is like and see what the optimizer is enjoying. And this is the same thing like in other live streams. I've seen people, you know, run in the background and show things like. I'm not doing anything any different than anybody else does. That's just how it is. Here, we'll lower these. We'll lower this guy. We'll lower him. Keep him at 20. Lower him there. We'll keep those guys even. So also you can see that it's changing automatically. Give it a few more minutes and it'll go through. And what do I like? This is what I enjoy. This is the part that I enjoy, making lineups or seeing how different lineup constructions go and seeing how, some people end up on a driver because they like him or they're forced to go to him based on, lineup construction. And this is what I kind of use to gauge the chalk. Like if I have everybody in there and I want to go through and see how much, based on my projections, the guys getting in the lineups or whatnot, we're pretty close to getting to the end here. And you've seen the total projection change on and off. Here, we're going to refresh it to see if it'll get a bit higher. Yeah, so it automatically puts another one higher because I'm kind of skipping the whole loading thing. I just refresh it. Like I said, the one I use takes around 5 minutes to really crunch everything that I want it to. Right now, this shows the percentage of 150 lines and then the number of 150 lines. That's the main thing I like looking at. So obviously it's still changing with every lineup being made, but how is this going here? So, I don't think I'm really forcing it to use a whole lot of Stenhouse, but it's liking Priest, but it's liking Priest a lot at $5,900. It's kind of what I expected. Jones and Eric Almirola, doesn't seem like they're getting into a whole lot of lineups. Like it's really having to work to get him in here. This is a bit interesting here when you look at Custer, Briscoe, and Bubba Wallace. I think this is because Briscoe's a bit cheaper than Wallace, and by default this weekend the 7K drivers are a bit difficult because I have Suarez projected for more points. But it's slightly leaning towards Briscoe right now, or it's actually pretty head-to-head, pretty even between how much it's wanting to use. Those two guys, Newman's getting in a whole lot of lineups, which is really interesting. Because you got Newman, 7,200. You got Wallace and Custer, a bit cheaper, and it's liking Newman a bit more. So, maybe Newman is the play. Maybe that's a place that you want to consider going. I don't know. I would still tend to disagree with Newman getting into that many lineups. I'd much rather want to see him at 17% versus 22. And I'm nitpicking here. I mean, between 33 lineups, 25 lineups at 150, it doesn't really matter that much. Alex Bowman not popping up as much as I thought it would be. Chastain, it's shoving Chastain. So what is it shoving in? It's shoving in Priest, shoving in Chastain right now. Larson, I bet you this 39 is because Larson is not being included in the lower lineups. It's just not even bothering putting him. Yeah, because so it has Larson in pretty much all the top lineups it's liking, and yeah, the Larson decreases the farther down you go. That's just how that's going. That's why we see Larson at 39 there. Let's see. It's liking McDowell. It's not minding McDowell. Maybe that's the only place it's liking to go in the 6K range. Maybe it's being forced there. So let's see how high are the McDowell lineups going. Not as high, but they're certainly there. Like I said, none of these lineups are final. I don't plan on playing any of these lineups because this is just a very early run, man. Monday morning run. Let's see what else we're doing here. Between Busher, Dylan Reddick, all very similar. That's pretty interesting seeing that Reddick is nearly $1,000 more expensive, and it's barely liking Busher more than that. So that's really, really interesting there. Let's see. Hamlin, Chase Elliott, they're pretty even. I got Hamlin projected for a higher projected point right now, but like I said, it's probably liking Elliott just because you can fit him in so many lineups a lot easier, and it's probably liking him over the other 9K guys like Harvick and Busher. So what is it liking right now? Who are the chalk plays or the guys that I think would carry ownership? And that's how I normally determine it anyway, but looking like Keselowski, Elliott, Hamlin, you can argue that all you want. Larson, obviously. Chastain, and this is not Chastain's not going to be 57% owned. That's just what these lineups are. But Chastain's going to carry ownership. Bell's looking like it'll carry ownership if it plays out the way that I anticipate it playing out. Ryan Preece looking pretty chalky. So those would be the guys I want to chalk. So maybe you want to pivot off those guys, or maybe you want to try and find guys in a similar price range that maybe guys aren't looking for, or they have similar upside. It's things like that you want to look at. I mean, I enjoy doing this type of stuff more than other stuff. I like talking about this more than anything. So if you like it, if this helps you out, hopefully it does. If not, I completely understand, and Thanks for supporting me. That's about all I have. Thank you.